Great question. And first off, thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you for listening to the Rich Habits podcast for so long. It's super humbling to know that over 100,000 people come back every single week to listen to our show. So it's just super grateful to be in that situation. So I guess a little bit more background on me. I'm 29, like you said. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I graduated from the University of Tennessee back in 2018. I got my degree in finance and economics. I took that to go do mergers and acquisitions for Amedisys, downtown Nashville in the Gulch. They're a large home health hospice and personal care company. I was doing that from 2018, 2019, and then 2020. The pandemic happened. And so they gave us like a work from home stipend to go buy a desk and a computer. I used mine to buy a webcam and a microphone, which was pretty fun. And essentially, what happened was I found myself at 24 years old, sort of lost in the sense that there were people talking about personal finance and investing online, but they were in their early 30s. They were further along than I was. I had student loan debt. I didn't have a credit card yet. I had no idea how to do anything financially, right? I had my degree, but it's to your point, it's one thing to understand the calculations and the equations. It's another thing to actually practice personal finance. And so what I was doing, I was like, listen, I'm going to just start documenting the process, documenting my journey on TikTok. Because now TikTok's a thing. It's the pandemic, everyone's lip syncing and dancing. So instead of doing that, I'm going to talk about paying off my student loans, maxing out my Roth IRA, building a budget and sticking to it as a 20-something-year-old in Nashville, Tennessee. And so after doing that for a couple months, I realized that people cared about what I had to say and they wanted more access to if it was my thoughts on the markets, if it was, one-on-one via DMs with me, like just more access to what I was thinking and doing. And so I launched a Patreon account. I'm not sure if you guys know, but Patreon's essentially a way for you to tip people online. It's kind of like a subscription type service. And so I quickly found myself with 5, 10, 15 people paying me 15, $20 a month. And I'm like, yo, this is awesome. This is what magic internet money is all about, right? This is a cool side hustle. Still working my 9 to 5 job, but on the side thinking about, wow, how can I begin to really like build this audience of subscribers on Patreon and provide more value to people and begin to really double down on this. And so that's what I did. I spent every waking moment, every weekend. I was working 9 to 5, and then from like 6 to 2 in the morning, just building this every single day. I remember I was late once to a presentation because I was up so late the night before working on this, and my CEO chewed me out. But regardless, I was able to essentially build a business around the idea of sharing my portfolio, my investing strategies, sort of a newsletter type vibe. And that was, to your point, yes, I was making $62,500 a year at my job, first off out of college. And then I remember it was March of 2021. So 1 year after I had been doing this stuff online, I eventually quit my job because I saw that on Patreon I made $18,000 in 1 month. And I was like, this is more money than I would make in several months working my job. Like, I need to actually go all in on this and do everything I can to see this succeed. And so that's when my business partner and I decided to both quit our jobs, go all in on making, content. And now to your point, getting to your question of how I found Robert. So this was back in March of 2021. Our business now in July of 2025 is similar, but also pretty different. So, in the beginning, I realized as a content creator, the most important thing you can do to ensure longevity in your career of creating content is to monetize your audience directly. This means providing them enough value at a reasonable price that they'd want to somehow subscribe to you, tip you, support you monetarily. And so that's what we were doing, right? When it was with Patreon, then we ended up going with Substack, offering a paid newsletter. It was just being able to monetize your audience directly as a content creator is so empowering because you are not depending on the marketing budgets of random companies. And fast forward to 2022, when the stock market did this, every fintech company was laying off people, right? We were happy to be monetizing our audience directly versus, having to rely on, again, the marketing budgets of these companies. So today our business is a couple things. First and foremost, I have a newsletter. That's a monetization lever. We're able to rock and roll that way. It's called the Rate of Return newsletter. We'll talk about all that if you'd like later, but a lot of fun doing that. Back in 2020 and 2021, we realized a lot of the companies that were reaching out to like sponsor my videos and like want to sponsor my content had absolutely no idea how to tell a story and make someone that watches a TikTok video or an Instagram reel actually want to go download their app or invest on their platform or learn more about their product. And so my business partner and I started doing a lot of marketing consulting for these fintech companies like Public and Fundrise and Charles Schwab. They would say, "Hey, here's a budget of $300,000. Help us spend this in a way that makes sense for our objectives, our campaigns." And so, being in this like financial influencer type sphere of people, I've got a lot of friends that are also doing this. So I love to say, "Hey guys, y'all want to work with Charles Schwab? They want to do a TikTok video with you guys, and I think this would work out for you." So that's one way that we built our business, and we still do a lot of that today. Marketing consulting with fintech companies, and over the last 3 years, 2.5 years, that has also diversified with ETF issuers. So we have a partnership with the New York Stock Exchange where they send us introductions to iShares, which is BlackRock, or Global X, or ProShares, or Neos Funds, or Nicholas Wealth, or all these other different awesome ETF issuers that are saying, "Hey, we have an ETF with a very specific strategy, and we have no idea how to get it in front of the right type of investors. Can you help us with that?" And so do a lot of that stuff. And now to get to your question about the Rich Habits podcast, podcasting is actually something I really enjoy doing, and I've been doing it since December of 22, I think. So December of 22, I was approached by iHeartMedia to co-host a podcast for them. Um, that show is called Mind the Business Small Business Success Stories. It's essentially a way for myself and my co-host Janice Torres to interview small business owners and learn from their biggest, triumphs and mistakes. And so that got me falling in love with podcasting. I love getting in front of this and talking into a microphone and teaching people about very specific strategies and learnings that I've seen myself. Started working with Morning Brew with their After Earnings podcast. I got to do 16 episodes with that. Interviewed the CEO of Celsius Energy Drink, the CFO of Affirm, the buy now pay later company, Kava, as you guys know, the fast
Yep.
casual dining. So we got to have some really cool conversations there. And then coming now full circle, long-winded answer to your question about the DM, I found Robert on TikTok in, I think it was like January of 2023, and I saw a video he posted about how, here's how to become the first millionaire in your family. And I love how he explained it. He was very articulate, very smart. I figured out he had started Silly Band, so he was a, business mogul in the past and very much still is. And I just damn, I was like, "Hey man, we should be friends. I love what you're doing, and I think there's a world where we could work together." And I think a mistake a lot of like content creators and entrepreneurs make is thinking that the world is a zero sum game. It's very much not. Robert winning, Nick winning, Austin winning, we can all win simultaneously because the pie is so big. And so if we can work together to complement each other, if it's with podcasting, if it's with brands, if it's with whatever it might be, like that's a net positive. And so Robert had the exact same mentality. And so we talked for like an hour about just like for the first time we're on a Zoom call talking about the markets and our different ideas and investing. And he goes, "Man, that was a good conversation." I was like, "Yeah, it really was. Man, that'd be great. We should have recorded this, you know?" He goes, "Yeah, we should have." And I was like, "Maybe we have another conversation and we actually record it. We put it and we publish it like a podcast." And he goes, "All right, I'd be cool with that." And so we came up with the Rich Habits podcast. We started it from scratch, and no one listened to the first 18, 20 episodes. And then after we got a little bit of momentum now, we started in February of 23. No one listened to the first however many months. And then by October of 23, we hit #1 on Spotify's business chart. And now we're a consistent top 10 presence on their business chart on Spotify. Like I said, 100,000 weekly listeners, 250,000 followers on Spotify, and it has unlocked some insane opportunities. We got invited to the White House last year to the Biden administration to talk about their student loan program or learn more about it, rather. We got invited to ring the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange with BlackRock because of the podcast. I just so many awesome opportunities, and it's just like it's comes back to this idea, and then I'll shut up. Of you're only one DM, one email, one phone call, one Zoom call away from a completely different life. And so anyone listening right now, if you have an idea, if you want to reach out to someone, like always do it. There's nothing to lose, especially if it's a good idea. Like just have that mentality of like there's always There's only, one thing away. You're just that one conversation away. So if you could say yes or do things like, like Nick and I here on this podcast, he's like, hey, let's do it. I was like, heck yeah, man, let's do it. Like, let's have some fun. There's always having that abundance mindset, and the mindset that the world is not a zero sum game is going to take you so far in this world.